So can the president stop Obamacare subsidies? Jonathan Turley is constitutional attorney and law professor, joins me now for some analysis. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
You were also the lead counsel for the U.S. House of Representatives in the challenge to the actions by the Obama administration to set up these subsidies in a court case that ended in victory.
That's right.
So this is a constitutional move.
It is. The original order that has just been rescinded was unconstitutional by a finding of a federal court. The court found it not only violated Article 1 of the Constitution, it violated the health care law itself, because Congress had the ability to grant subsidies under the federal law, but had chosen not to. In fact, the administration had come to Congress and asked for this money, and Congress said no. And then the president said, all right, I'll just order it directly from the Treasury. Well, you can't do that. I mean, the defining power of Congress is the power of the purse. And the federal judge issued an historic ruling and said, this is wrong. You can't violate the Constitution, no matter what your motivations are, no matter what you're complaining about with Congress. You have to play within the rules of the Constitution.
So obviously, there's a lot of pushback to that. Democrats, including one who was a part of the leadership during the setup of the law, who is now the California Attorney General, Javier Becerra, said this today.
The Trump administration is deciding not to follow the law. Everyone has to follow the law. Every one of us has to pay our bills. Just because Donald Trump is president doesn't mean he doesn't have to follow the law. We did not mean to have an executive decide which of the subsidies for Americans that would be paid and which wouldn't. Donald Trump is deciding which ones he wants to pay and which ones he doesn't. He doesn't get to do that just because he's president.
And you're saying Congress doesn't get to just make things up.
Well, it's rather bizarre because he's talking about a law that was, an order that was found to be unconstitutional. So what President Trump just did is say we're not going to continue to pay subsidies that a federal court said was unconstitutional. And so what this does is returns the issue to where it should have remained all along, which is in Congress. You know, we don't have a lot of options in a democratic process. You can compromise and convince people in Congress, or you could try to change Congress, but you can't circumvent Congress. You can't just order the Treasury to release billions of dollars without an appropriation of Congress.
So what are these attorneys general like Becerra, and the map includes 18 states and the District of Columbia, what are they, what grounds are they using to sue the administration over this decision to stop subsidies?
I expect they're going to try to relitigate what we litigated earlier in the Price case.
Which you welcome.
Which, frankly, I would welcome, because I think it'll amplify the victory we had before. But unfortunately, this is a sort of perpetual litigation machine that we've seen, where every move ends up in court. There's this cathartic reaction to go to court. I think that what these attorneys have to think about is how bad cases can make bad law for them. And they've already lost on this. Now, they could keep on returning to the table and putting bets down, but they lost, and lost big, in the previous litigation. They're going to be fighting for something that a court found was a violation of the core principles of the United States Constitution.
This is the legal side. The politics side, the president says he's up for negotiation. Anything could happen with Democrats coming to the table. You write in this opinion for The Hill, op-ed, that if Democrats looked at it about funding the wall, the president's border wall, and that they said no to that funding, and then the president said, you know what, I'm directing the Treasury to take the money anyway, right, that would be analogous.
It is. I mean, the Democrats are now applauding a president who circumvented Congress and just basically ordered the funding, billions of dollars worth, under this law. What if President Trump took that lesson to heart and just ordered billions to build the wall? You can't choose. But what the difference is between governing by principle and governing by personality. It's clear that many of these Democrats, liked obviously President Obama, do not like President Trump. But is that the system that you want? Is it a system that will turn on simply who's making the decision rather than whether they have the authority to make it?
Jonathan, it's always a pleasure, and as much as it pains me, congratulations to your Cubs.
Thank you very much. I know that was tough.
That was tough. Thank you, sir.